Okay, Southwest Talon people, this is kind of a little highlight reel of the things I like about my machine, some of the things that I would change and do differently, some of my grievances, some of my praises. Anyways, I have a 2019 Honda Talon 1000R model. First off, the stock suspension is pretty horrible for most of the mountain and desert riding terrain that I do. I live in Arizona at 7,000 feet, and I ride a lot of mountain trails and mountain roads. I go down to the valley a lot, and it's, you know, desert, open desert trails, so it gives us a pretty wide range of riding. So one of the first mods that I did was the 3-inch seat harnesses. They just wrap around the back of your harness bar, and I like the 3-inch ones, a little less, you know, pushing on the shoulders. It broadens it out a little bit. The second modification I did was shock therapy. Worked on my suspension. Kind of a grievance about them is, you know, once I was out the door, they wanted nothing to do with me. Yep, I said it. I'll put it out there. It's the truth. I've called back a couple times to try to get some input and insight on things, and they're less than interested in talking with me about it unless I want to bring the whole machine in and pay for a whole nother service. I went ahead and got the Rock Blocks Generation 1 rock guards, which are pretty cool. This design, I don't know if this is picking up on camera. If you take and trace this design, you could probably transfer that to rubberized mud flaps later when they wear out. I think I'm going to go to the ones that bolt up here, the rock knockers. I kind of like that. Their design pretty good. Okay, next on the list is my light bar. This is a 38-inch single row light bar. These little mounts I handmade. You can't see, but they bolt on right there. Pretty slick, pretty bright. I went to the Rigid Industries sidewalk sale and got some hyper spots. I got this little guy, which is pretty handy. I'm going to put lens covers on these to make these amber for seeing in the dust. Okay, next we have the radio kit. Rugged radios with intercom. That's an issue in and of itself. I'm not totally thrilled with it, but it does work once everything is set up and installed right. A lot of the riding that I do requires the GMRS frequencies, which is up in the 400 megahertz. Now I can program this radio to work on any of those channels, but not both. Like the regular race frequencies, which is like your 150s, your 151s and whatnot, that they come pre-programmed with, is called a VHF. I can program this to also work as UHF, but it won't do both. It's either or. So depending what group I'm riding with, I change the programming on my radio. It's kind of a hassle, but not the end of the world. My headsets, I went with the high quality quiet ones. It's not the bass improved ones because I don't need any more bass. The headset hanger, I actually just made that today. It's just a bar mount, and I bent a couple pieces of flat bar stock and painted them, and you know, we're ingenuity and built something. Particle separator. That's an interesting one. The stock air filter location. As many of you guys know, there's a grill that goes right here, and it's up behind there. Absolutely unacceptable design from Honda. I put my particle separator right here, and I think I'm going to change it to above the roof, which some people say you got to watch out for water intrusion, but yeah, I don't think I'm going to worry about that too much because I don't ride in the rain. I do have a chase light. It was a relatively inexpensive one from Amazon. It was actually a partial gift, so it works. I'm not crazy about it, but it does do the job sufficiently, so I can't complain about that. I went ahead and made and welded a bracket on right here for for another whip or flag, whichever one you call it. I use these SS lighting sticks. As you can see, they're pretty good. Warranty service on those was really nice. The way they lock in is really good. They have this little keyway that once you push it down in there, it turns and then it can't come out. It locks in tight. That's pretty handy. I don't have them wired up yet. That's down the road. My cooler is just a cheap, Igloo cooler. It's not overly big, but it's big enough for most of the trips that I do. It had a handle that bolted on here and went up and over. I took some turnbuckles and just bolted it down to the machine. No complaints. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Exhaust. I have the Evo exhaust. There's been a lot of complaints on the internet about their quality, their build quality and stuff lately about these brackets and these bolts that go right here. Their welds are top notch, TIG welded. Everything bolted together pretty quick, pretty simple. I have no issues with these bolts, the flange here. Everything just bolted in so smooth and it sounds perfect. This rear shield, it had something that came off over here a little bit, and I just took and cut it off there and cut it off there and kind of trimmed it up so I didn't have to rewire my license plate. Okay, grievances. Honda, if you're watching this, you should have put a metal skin or skid plate underneath that engine, because this cheap little plastic one is, well, it's a joke, especially for an off-road machine like this. I will be making a skid plate of my own to go under there. I can't understand why somebody would pay $1,000 or something for one of the fancy skid plates. Maybe people just need to spend the money on them because they don't have the tools or the know-how to build one, but I do, and I'm gonna. That's really about it. I have the seismic mirrors, which are pretty handy. They fold in if you're going around trees and stuff. That's pretty handy. I got a cheap, this mirror's from Walmart. I think it was like $8 or $9. No complaints there. I did relocate the dash. Yeah, I know. It was there. I built my own little template there for the switches. I actually modified the one that came with the relocation kit. I do like the relocation kit. It is very handy. My GPS that I'm trying out is just a Garmin Nuvi that I loaded with my own topo maps using Basecamp, and then I just mounted that, which is an I mount or I something, to go onto my Galaxy Tab A tablet. So I'm going to be trying that out here shortly. That's really about it, guys. It's a pretty good machine. Tires, I ran a 32 BFG, that's my namesake, Goodrich. The KM3s, I've been very, very happy with them. They track really nice. I've never had an issue with traction or anything really with them. I'm very, very pleased with these tires. I think next time I might drop down to a 30-inch tire instead of the 32s. Or I have to add a turbo because my car tops out at around 63, 64 in the desert. It just doesn't have the oomph to pull the tires, at 70 something miles an hour in soft sand. If I'm on a hard packed road, it'll do it. But in the softer sand washes, it won't pull them up to top speed. It keeps shifting gears, 5th to 6th, 5th to 6th. So I think a 30-inch tire would help offset that. The car sits up high enough. I've never needed more ground clearance out of it. So that's pretty handy. Of course, with the ride height of that shock therapy sets, I think I'm 16 and 16 front and rear. One of the other things is check your diffs. My front diff was absolutely bone dry. I went to do the service on it and it drained out maybe a quarter cup of oil, maybe, and that would be a stretch. The local dealership has been informed of it, and they said if any issues come of it, then to let them know and they'll take care of it. So I'm not overly worried about that. I'm really good friends with my dealership. Other than that, it's a pretty stout machine. It's fun, you know. My future planned upgrades is probably me taking the shocks apart and reworking them. I think I'm going to do the iBox sway bar like some of you guys have. A cage is definitely on the horizon. I don't like how crowned the cage is and sticks up way in the back. I would rather have something a little bit flatter profile, so that you know, I can put a rack up there and put, you know, camping gear and whatnot up there, and put a spare tire in the bed. So I will be building a cage. I don't know how soon, but it'll be here pretty soon. And that's really about it. If you guys have questions or comments, holler at me. Oh yeah, one more. The windshield. I went with the half windshield because that's what I had in my Can-Am, and it was perfect in my Can-Am. And I'm about 1.5 inches too tall for this one. If I had to do it over again, I would no doubt go with the glass windshield. UTV Bolt-Ons has a really nice one at a very affordable price. He's local in Arizona, so me liking to keep the money local is a plus on that. Give my brain a chance to catch up here. No, that's about it, guys. Yeah, it's a pretty good machine. Here, I'll even fire it up for you and see if you can hear the exhaust. Sorry for the delay. So there's the exhaust. I can't set my phone up and rev it up for you guys to hear it. There's my chase light. See, it works, and there's several different blink patterns for it, but whatever. By now I'm sure everybody's heard these Evos. Yeah, they're not bad. It's not obnoxious. It adds a little bit of a growl to it, gets rid of that catalytic converter in there. And because it's a slip-on, it is turbo compliant. Means I can go buy the turbo kit and it bolts onto that union joint right there. All right, I think this is the final one. Thanks, guys.